there's this like cool feeling of like you're a part of a club now, right? Like you're in the dad club, and you didn't realize how much parents went through what they went through. Like you kind of hear about it until you go through it, and you're kind of impressed. It's this unspoken thing. It's like, oh damn, you had a job and did all of this as a parent. Like, oh, I'm doing that now, and it's hard work. Like, props to you. So I think that's kind of cool. You're in this like parent club now.
What's up, dads? This is the Rise and Dad podcast, a podcast in perspective on life as a dad from dads who are intentional about their fatherhood. I'm your host, Kevin Delro, and we have something really special today. I have a great guest here. He works in tech, and he's a local guy, but he is the father of a newborn. So he's in the newborn stage. Totally different angle this time because his daughter is 3 months, and we're going to hear some really cool tidbits about life and fatherhood. And I feel like this is going to be a really special episode because, at least with me, it really takes me back to those moments. And when you hear somebody talk about what they're going through, it just really brings you back like it was yesterday. And so I'm really excited to talk to Sean here. But I'd love to welcome Sean to the pod.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
hey, happy you're here, man.
Thanks.
Like, it's crazy that you're here because also 3 months in, I don't think I even left the house until 6 months in. So I was like, here you are, looking great, doing a podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's pretty wild. A lot of people are asking like how it's been, and I think there's definitely, it's been interesting because a lot of people are saying you're not getting a lot of sleep, right? Or must be stuck home. And to be honest, we're trying to do everything we can with her. So I feel like we've been getting out, aside from the Seattle weather.
And there's going to be that perspective because like a lot of people would probably say, oh, you're not getting a lot of sleep or none of this. And maybe you are. And these are the insights that like people would love to see
for sure
and hear.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Sean, let's get into this. Tell me about your family.
Awesome. So I am married to Brianna. We have been married for 3 years and together for 7. We just had Emery, our first child, a girl, 3 months ago, December 19th, she was born. So we are in the thick of the newborn stage now. We don't have any family here, so it's just us with our support system, our friends and other support. But so that's our family.
Yeah, well, I'm going to touch a little bit on your support because I could imagine it being really hard, kind of going through it by yourself or by yourselves. When we had our daughter, it was like COVID time where we had family around, but no one could really enter our apartment at the time. So it was kind of similar to that where you're kind of figuring it out together, which is also kind of the beautiful part, kind of the fun part where you don't have your mom or your mom-in-law kind of butting in at the same time. So
yeah, it's got to be hard, I think, in your situation because you, like us not having family here, it's a pretty tangible reason, right, to seek other support.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
In your situation, it's like, oh no, we have family right nearby, we just can't see them. So it must have been super challenging.
Oh man, it was. It would be like my mom would take a COVID test and it'd be like, I'm ready to go. It'd be like, yeah, but did you go to the grocery store this morning? Yeah. I did. You got to test again.
You got to test again.
So I'm glad we're over that. I mean, I'm sure it's still hard for you guys. We'll touch a little bit about kind of the support in your life and how that played out during the pregnancy. But why don't you tell us about when you first found out you guys were pregnant?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. So me and a group of friends were all training for a marathon down in California, and we kind of committed to this thing a year prior. Here we are a year later. A couple of the friends that were going to this thing, we were headed to the airport. They live here in Seattle, and they were coming to pick Bree and I up. Bree was running as well. And there's like a group of five couples going down. And as we're getting ready to literally hop in their car 5 minutes away to get on the airplane, Bree kind of has this thought like, I should take a pregnancy test for obvious reasons, I guess. And sure enough, she was pregnant. And I came back from like cleaning something up outside and locking the door, getting ready. And she like shows me the pregnancy test. And I said, holy shit. And both like kind of very shocked. Like we weren't not ready to have kids or not trying to have kids, but we also weren't trying. It was kind of just like we were ready, but it was not, we didn't expect it to happen just like that. Right. I think that's stories I hear, but I think it's a pretty unique story because we're both like really positive about everything, and then immediately cut to us needing to get into our friend's car. Yeah. And we couldn't talk about it. So we're sitting in the back seat and we're just kind of like staring at each other like, holy shit. Like, what's going on in your head? And then she's probably thinking the same for me. So then we had to kind of sit silent then on the airplane, and we're just kind of like just sitting there, and then we finally get there hours later. You know, and we just like
you're just like in your own hotel room.
Like, holy shit! Like, what just happened? Like, it's happening.
Wow.
So yeah,
I could imagine that would be like really difficult. It's like there's so much emotions, and you're like, you and your wife are just like looking at each other like, oh, fuck.
Which in a way I look back as it kind of helped because it like allowed for just some of the reflection, right? Like you need that alone time to think like, okay, damn, this is happening, right? Yeah. Like it was almost this forced way to be like, internalize and be like, okay, this is good. This is like, this is, you can think for yourself about the situation, which is important for me as a person. So it almost kind of like unintentionally helped. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
So tell me, you had hours, it was hours before you guys could talk about this. And you said that you wanted to internalize it. Yeah. What were you internalizing? What was going through your head? Where did your head go, and what were you preparing for?
Yeah, I think, it was all like, I don't know that I was worried. It was a lot of just kind of like, you know, how was I feeling in that moment? How was Bree feeling in this moment? Like, I wonder how she thought about everything. And like, you know, was she feeling nervous? And then like, was I feeling like everybody said it was going to feel like, right? There's just a lot of just thinking like, and I remember it being a very positive experience, like a very positive day, and I don't remember worrying too much. I think it was just like, wow, so this is what it's like to be ready to have a kid. Like, okay, this is like what they say, like, and I remember thinking that a lot. So yeah, and then I just couldn't help but to think like, what was Bree feeling, you know?
So then you guys get to have your moment, and then, you know, you have 9 months or so to start prepping. Like, what did that prep look like? Did it look like prepping your home, prepping your mind, prepping your body? Like, what was going on?
I think a lot of different things, but in the same manner, not that much. And I'll tell you what I mean. Like, we didn't really start picking up our prep, I would say, until like the 3rd trimester. There were some things that we were sharing a lot of articles and blogs between each other, right? Like Bree is very good at like research, like that's her thing, you know, and like a lot of times it was like, she would be like, hey, check this out. And I'd read, and it was like, I know that it was important for her and for us, because generally, like, I knew that she was like sourcing good information. So we were just sharing a lot of information back and forth. We got a doula, a birth doula, which was helpful, honestly, because, and she's Swedish, and she used to be a midwife in Sweden. And it was a bit of an aha moment for us, because around this kind of like, I think it was like 2nd trimester, the doula came over and essentially like really kind of calmed us down, gave us this book, which was like a technical book about like what to expect during the birthing experience. And that was all she gave us. And kind of the advice that she had was, don't stress out too much. Like, these things are meant to work out. And it's like, you hear that and you're like, it's true, right? There are millions of children being born every day. Like, these things are meant to work out. And it immediately kind of like calmed us down and said, all right, like, we don't need to be going crazy here and like buying all of the things and reading all of the books. We definitely approach this thing as like we'll take it as it comes, and we can pivot. We're both problem solvers, and we know that about each other. So I would say like that's how we were prepping. You know, we didn't really prep the house too much. I would like throw out a couple things like to Brie. I'm like, oh, I should do this to like safe proof the house. And she's like, she'll be a baby. You don't need to do that yet. Like, just chill, you know? Like, so like that would help, because I, you know, naturally as the dad, I'm like, I got to put locks in the cabinets, and I'm like, and Bree's like, she won't walk for like a while. So don't do that. And then honestly, to prep like my mind, I actually started going to therapy, which was like a huge help for me. And it was an intentional kind of action that I shared with Bree, that I'm like, I want to be able to have like an outlet once a week, because it's really important for me to be able to, I don't know, just like be a consistent father, be a confident father, and kind of have some grounding. That is not always Bree, right? Like, she was about, all I could think about was she was about to have this kid. We were about to have this kid, but she was ultimately about to have this kid.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, I didn't want to have her feel like she was my only outlet, right? So there's definitely a lot of like, you know, kind of intentionality before Emery came, where I was like, I also kind of want to make sure that, you know, I'm in a good place as well. And it's just more about like, just even more, like, how can I be even more? So
that is really cool, man. Thanks for sharing that.
For sure.
I there's no one, at least that I've spoken to yet, that did therapy before parenting, to prep for their son or daughter. And I think that's really powerful. When you were considering that, had you ever done therapy before then?
No.
Okay,
it's
so
a big deal.
That's what's even crazier is
For
that.
sure.
So then what happened, or when was the moment where you were like, I think I need to do this? And the reason why I'm asking is because therapy, even scheduling, seeing a doctor, takes an intentionality of looking one up, finding it, scheduling it, maybe weeks or months in advance when they're available. And so you had to actually really, really want to do this. And so what made you make that decision that I really want to do this? I'd just love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was, I think I would kind of have these variable like emotions about how I was feeling like about work, or maybe like, you know, what I want, if I wanted to do potentially differently, right? Like, I would come home and then I just kind of, you know, I call it unloading, but ultimately it was just kind of like talking to Brie. I'm like, fucking work, right?
Yeah.
Like, damn work, like shit's stressful. Or like, I would, you know, I can be a pretty like emotional person, right? Like, positive or negative. Like, I just like, I wear that on my sleeve. I think the turning point for me really was kind of, I remember coming home one day, and this was like last summer. It was while Brie was pregnant, and I was like, I think I'm gonna quit. And
Quit your job.
yeah, quit my job. And Bree's like, why? You know? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, this is kind of what I'd rather do, right? And it was almost like this turning point for me. It was like, I gotta like, for me, like, I walked away from that within this aha moment, which is like, I gotta like stabilize some of like what I want, right? Because if I'm not in a good place and I'm coming home, when we need to be a good partnership, right, for Emery and for each other, I can't kind of be coming home and being like, let's put that on pause, let's talk about my shitty job. You know, it's like, that's not what I want, right?
Yeah.
And I also, to be honest, like, I'm using the job thing as an example, and there's other conversations too, but like, I also don't want to come home and have Emery grow up to like me, like coming home and being like, this sucked today, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's important for me. So I think that was definitely a turning point. And, you know, it definitely took like a ton of courage, man. Like, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
I recognize that.
Yeah.
Like, especially because I'd never gone to therapy.
Yeah.
It was also a lot of planning, for sure. Like, I was like, okay, I gotta do this because this is going to take a while, and I had to find the right person. Like, I even went through a few different people, and that takes a lot. And now I'm still going, like, every week, and it's amazing, man. Like, and I don't think that I'm gonna stop, like, because I want to make sure that, you know, like I said, I kind of maintain some of that stabilized, good behavior and actions, even when Emery's getting older.
Yeah, I like that. I did therapy after Rui was born, and you know, me and my wife, we have communication issues, or we're stressed, we didn't sleep or whatever, and I had found them so helpful where we would have a 45-minute session and I would like literally talk for 45 minutes. He wouldn't say a word and then it'd be like, all right, done. That was great. Thanks a lot. And you know, he might give me some homework or something, but for the most part, it's really just like, you know, just talking and having that. But I think that was like so big that you know, had the courage to do that and set that up. And like here at Rise and Dad podcast, we talk about intentionality all the time. I mean, it's in, you know, it's in our thesis and all the things. And so like the fact that you did that, like in planning for being your best self is like so huge. Like
thanks,
Rise
man.
and Dad props, man.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Dude, appreciate it.
So let's move on. She finally comes out. Emery is here. Tell me about what was the first thought you had when you held Emery in your hands, newborn. What was that like?
So the first thing that was going on in my head, honestly, was like before that, it was this just complete amazement with this process of giving birth and how impressed I was with Bree. Like, I remember being in the room, kind of like behind Bree, and doing what I could have done at the moment, which was support, right? Like the doula was there rubbing her back and I'm kind of rubbing another part of her back. And, you know, like I was just in such shock and like positive, impressed shock of how she was handling all of this and how this child was just like coming out of her, right? Like, this is wild.
I talked about this on a previous pod. Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah. Which is like, it's so true, right? There are certain things in your life, like I saw that and that podcast. And you know what I thought about is like, there are certain things that, you know, you should witness or you should be there for. And I remember actually my sister gave me advice when my first dog passed. She's like, no, you will be there. Cause I was trying to get out of it. I was like, no, I'll just have like Bree bring. I'm like, I'm so sad. Right. Like, but it's just like, and that's positive for me to think about because it's like, those are like these, it's almost like this, like, you know, milestones in your life that are really important to be there for. Watching every part of that, Emery, is just like unforgettable, you know? So I think that was the first thing. And I think the second thing when I held Emery was just like, immediately I was like, oh, she looks like Bree. Like she had like the same, like, it was so cute, great. Like little Bree. Like that's how I felt, you know? And
it's basically just your wife in smaller
that's how
form.
I felt.
Like,
how cute is you're just like a little Bree, you know?
That's awesome.
I think just like, I don't know, it was hard for me to like, you know, absorb. I was just like kind of in just like such positive emotion, you know. I was like crying a lot and like it was just so good, man. Like and then you know, something we talk about a lot is the shock, the culture shock of them putting you in the postpartum room, and they're essentially just like, here's the baby, like good luck, right? And then you just get the baby and you're just there a few hours later and then you're just there. And it's like, okay, you stay here for another, like, you know, overnight. And it was like, wait, where are all the nurses and the doctors? Like, now it's just us and this baby's like screaming and it's just like, oh shit, it's ours. Like, this is it. Like, and that was like, I remember we kind of laugh about that still. It's just this culture shock of like immediately you're parents. You know?
A lot of dads have talked about that being their oh shit moment is when they leave the hospital and they're like, all right, go for it. You know, for us, like, I was like, did I put the car seat in right? Like, I've never even put in a car seat, right? And when you were talking about, you know, how your daughter was like little Bree, that's cute, but it reminded me when my daughter came out, she had like a big old black head of hair that she like literally, we joke around it, she looked like an 8-ball coming out of my life. And and then we have this other joke where she was so small and, you know, almost funky looking that we're like, man, you look like the baby in Men in Black when the alien comes out
with the long head. And like,
but I totally hear you on this like Animal Kingdom moment when it comes 100%. Out, and then you're just like, oh wait, it's just us. Like the nurses left. Like our daughter was in this little small, almost like basket right next to us, and we're just like watching, like, holy shit, it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you're in the stage, you're in the mix. Like, every day, at least I could remember, and maybe dads can remember, is just so like organized and aligned. Like, we're doing the nap here. This is when we're eating. You know, this is where Bree and I trade off. Can you just walk us through like a typical day in your life as a new dad? And I think that it'll probably bring up some like good and maybe some bad feels for some dads. Maybe like, walk us through today.
Yeah, good. Yeah, for sure. So essentially, Bree does kind of an overnight like feeding and pumping situation. So I have the morning duty. So I usually wake up at like 6 a.m. or so, and then that morning time before work, because Bree is still on maternity leave, that's my time with Emery. So I kind of get the day going for us as well, and by for us I mean Bree too, like, you know, getting the house ready and cleaned and organized, and like I'm kind of like just doing what I can to essentially say, hey, okay, I got to go to work now, right? Like I'm doing everything I possibly can in that short window. But I essentially wake Emery up and I feed her, and it's always a really good engaging time with us. Like, she's always in a good mood because she's just got a ton of rest, and you know, went to the bathroom, and then I'm feeding her.
You cleaned that morning diaper.
I got morning duty. It's all good. For sure.
It's probably still like just this little black piece.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're at that time now.
Okay.
So we get some engaging time in the morning, and then essentially, Bree takes over, right? I go to work, and I'll once I come home, it's kind of like up in the air now. We're really going along with the baby schedule, which is like, you know, she's tired, we're gonna let her nap, and we know every 3 hours or so she should be eating. So as long as we keep up with that, it's kind of a crapshoot right now in a way. Like, between the hours of 7 a.m. when I wake her up to feed her and she hangs out, between 7 a.m. and really like that 10 or 11 p.m. when she's done kind of napping at night, it's all like whatever Emery needs. If she's hungry or she's sleeping. So a lot of it is, we're not really in routine. Our biggest routine, honestly, is go to bed at 10 or 11 p.m. and she gets an overnight feed, and then she sleeps until 7 a.m. So that's our routine right now.
Yeah.
And we know that could very well change. We read a lot about like sleep regression and just kind of these growth spurts that can completely, you know, upend what you've been used to the past week or so. And then on the weekends, we're just out with her, man. Like, we're trying to go to restaurants, and we're trying to hang out with a ton of friends, and we're like telling friends to come over. So the weekends are for us, haven't slowed us down, I would say. They take longer to go do things. It takes like, you know, an extra half hour to prep, but otherwise I don't feel like it's really slowed us down.
Yeah, that's a great point about like still doing the things that you want to do. Obviously it's like adjusted, but I know that one person when we were pregnant told us that, you know, their lives doesn't change. They just bring their daughter with them to do all the things that they would have done anyways. And that was really hard for us initially, because, you know, you're packing differently, you're bringing a big bag, you know, you need an exit strategy if you need one. But I think it's really important for parents, especially young ones of newborns, to try to figure out like how you can still do the things you love, but you just like are 3 of you now or 4 of you now. And I think that's so huge, because you can really get trapped into like being like, he or she needs this and needs to be bed at this time, needs everything. And to some degree, you might burn yourself out of like trying to make sure this thing is all perfect, rather than like living your life and doing what is like awesome for you, your wife, your family, and everything. So I think that's like so huge.
Yeah.
And so did you, you know, 3 months in, you just described to me the day. Is that what you were expecting 3 months ago? How's it different? How's it better? How's it worse?
Yeah, I don't know. I think what I wasn't expecting is how quickly I think things change. You get used to maybe a behavior of Emery for 3 days, and she's in a really great mood, and she's eating a ton right before bed, and then she's like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to sleep. And that happens for 3 or 4 days. You're like, okay, I think we're on to something, right? And then day 5, she eats a lot and she gets tired, and just when you think you're on track for her to say go to bed, all of a sudden she just like wakes up and like freaks out. And I think what I didn't expect is, I think just the variability of like what could happen. Like I think, and it sounds silly to say that out loud, because I think anybody like being like, well, yeah, like it's a newborn, right? Like what else do you expect? And it's not going to be like consistent, and you won't have routines this early. But I think it's much easier to understand that when you're actually in it. It's like things could be going like a certain way for 2 weeks, then all of a sudden she just doesn't like it, you know?
Yeah.
The start of the 3rd week. So that's probably what I wasn't expecting, or just didn't really know going in. I would say I don't know that I was expecting. I think
you were just open to anything.
I was just open.
Yeah.
And I think what I was expecting was, and I'm getting in those early mornings, I'm getting like a lot of engagement, and she's like giggling, and like I had those pictures in my head of like, oh, I can't wait for those moments.
Yeah.
And they're coming, which
Yeah.
is cool. Like it's cool to be a part of, and it's cool to see. So yeah.
That's really cool. One of the things that I might have talked to you about this at my house is that, like, I always tell new dads and newborn dads to, you know, really embrace things that aren't what you might have expected. And what I always say is, I'd be like, you know, newborns are like puppies. They're great on Instagram, but not everything is always great. And, you know, I know that I had trouble with that, because, you know, you're really excited to become a father. You're really excited to do all the things. And, you know, for the first year and a half, my daughter, no matter how involved I was in engagement and all the things, she actually just didn't really want much to do with me. And when you have an expectation of, you know, my little girl and we're all this great, you can really have some sort of feels when that actually doesn't happen. Or, you know, you have this idea of, you know, this strong, happy family where everything's going great, and, you know, maybe, you know, your partner are arguing a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like, so I think that with like babies, I always say they're a lot like puppies on Instagram. They look really good, but like you also have to be prepared for, your daughter might cry when you hold her. And that could be like really hurtful. I know for me, it was just like, man, I've been so excited for this like baby, and like I'm here and I'm like holding her, and she doesn't want anything to do with me, and it's like so sad. And that was a challenge for me, because like it's obviously so emotional, and you're so vested in it, and you have this big expectation, and then you don't get it, and you're like, oh man, like I guess I'm waiting until you get older, but then you're like kind of conflicted, because you're like, I should appreciate this moment and not hope for the future. And I know that was definitely something that was like an issue for me, where it's like, oh, she doesn't even want to be with me. Like, this sucks.
You gave me that you gave me that advice, and I'll never forget it. Like we actually talk about it a lot. It's like, you remember what Kevin said, and like, it's helpful, man. Like you, as a father, like in those early days, you have to figure out how you can be a father, because it's not just going to come. Like the kid's not just automatically going to be like, oh, I need you now. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So there's ways that you also need to like figure out, how do you fulfill fatherhood for not just Emery, but also Brianna? Like, is it acts of service, and like you're going to like, you know, how do you support in those morning hours to be like, I'm going to set you up for success 100%. So that way I can go to work and you have everything you need, whatever it is, whatever they need. So yeah.
Yeah, man, that's so huge, because like you hit it on the dot, where the fatherhood, there's this learning where you're like, the fatherhood isn't just me being a father to Emery, but it's like a father in the way you take care of your wife, the way you take care of your home, the way you take care of work,
100%.
and life. Like, and like I said, that was just like so difficult for me, where I'm like, man, I am 110% invested in helping this baby, feeding this baby, being a part of it. And then like, she doesn't want me to hold her, or she doesn't want to spend time with me. And that was just like so tough for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you gave good advice, and it's helpful to kind of just be aware of it going in.
Yeah. It's like, you almost got to be ready for like, what if it's bad? You know,
for sure.
Cause like you can be like me, and that's what I had trouble with. But you talked about these little moments where you're holding her or you're feeding her, and they're like really engaging, and you're looking forward to those moments. Is there an everyday moment that you have now that you think you're going to cherish forever?
Yeah, that like it brings up a good point because I think some of the most common feedback that we get as parents is like really cherish these moments, and I think we've taken that really seriously. Like we're doing our best not to take now for granted or not get frustrated if she's super fussy or because it won't last forever, and she's super cute and she's tiny and it's fun and like I think something that I won't forget is I think just those moments on every morning we are on the couch together and I'm drinking a cup of coffee and we're either, you know, I'm reading to her or we're just kind of like talking to each other and she's starting to coo a lot. And I'm like, what are you trying to say to me?
I remember
like,
those.
What are you
too.
saying?
Yeah.
You know, like I could hear you, but like, what are you saying? And I love that. I won't ever forget it. Like I think, and I'm not taking it for granted. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we're lucky to have a lot of that good advice headed our way, I think, and we're taking it all in.
Yeah, the living in the now moment is really important and special for me. Like I know that I think I'm pretty good at it, but you know, you could easily look ahead. And you know, for me as an example, I would love to take my daughter to a Mariners game. And up until now, I mean, even not now, she can't make it through a Mariners game. She can't make it through a half of a Mariners game. And you know, before, or there were times where I would say like, I think a lot of dads would think that I can't wait until we can do X, right?
Yeah.
Go to a game.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we can play basketball.
I say
together.
those things now.
Yeah. And I think that that's like totally fine. And of course you like are excited about that. But when I say that, I often try to stop myself and be like, yeah, but if that came tomorrow, then I missed everything in between.
Yeah. Wow.
You know?
Good.
Like
Wow.
for real, like
Yeah.
I can't wait till I can go to a Mariners game with her and we're gonna have so much fun. But if I got that tomorrow, I just missed like 4 years. Like
Yeah.
don't take that for
Yeah.
granted. Like have those years.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I say this all the time on the podcast is when you think about even your hard moments. So maybe it is a meltdown. You haven't had one yet. you haven't really dealt with
That's
one.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. That's
you know,
true.
maybe it's a meltdown or something tough. Is that, you know, I always look at my wife and I say, hey, remember that in 20 years, if someone said, we can take you back to this moment right now, I guarantee you I'll pay anything to be here. And we're here right now. So let's take it in stride and love it.
Yeah.
Because you know for a fact you're going to want to be here.
Yeah.
And so I try to keep that like every single day, whether my daughter wants me to read another book, whether she wants me to go out and I'm tired, or whatever. It's like, I know that in 20 years, I'm going to pay anything for her to come and ask me that.
Yeah.
And I get it now.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yeah, I love that approach, man. Yeah, it's good that you keep reminding yourself of that because it's a lot easier to say than do. I think we all know that, right? Which is why you have to keep saying it. And,
Yeah.
and it certainly takes work to be like, okay, let's do this, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's do
It's like
this.
such a perspective thing. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm gonna miss it when it's not here, so I got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's temporary, but you know, obviously it takes your energy and time and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, is that like the biggest blocker, right? Is it energy, like and time? Like,
It
and
is
that's
energy and time.
like-
Yeah, and I talked about this on one of my pods where, like, for me, you know, it's prioritizing. So there's work, life, friends, family, daughter. And a lot of times I take the brunt of it. And what I mean by that is my daughter wants me to play, but I have work to do. I'm going to play with her, and then I'm just going to work until 2 a.m. And that's actually not a great thing to do because you're going to burn yourself out. But I think that me and my personality, I often just want to do everything. I want to be a great friend. I want to be a partner. I want to be a great dad. I want to have my own personal interests. And rather than, you know, deprioritizing someone else or another group, I'm just going to sleep less, or I'm just not going to work out.
Yeah.
Or maybe I won't be great at my job.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm still working on, but it's truly rooted in me wanting to be there for everyone. I mean, my daughter, my wife, my friends too. I mean, even my friends, I hang out with them less, and it's funny because I joke around where I'm just like, I don't have enough time for like good friends. So if you're a shitty friend, I definitely don't have time for you. I'm like Drake, no new friends. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just this prioritization of like, you know, whether I can do it, but at the same time, I'm like burning out my own energy. So like that is, to answer your question, it is like, what's stopping me? Just like energy and time.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about the importance of your support system. So I know that you don't have family here, and you might have had to like build a support system or have one temporarily, maybe people in shifts. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
So right away, we had our folks fly out right when we had Emery. So Bree's folks flew out for a few weeks, then my folks flew out for a few weeks, and we at the time, before we lived in the house that we live in now, we had a tiny little house, and we couldn't house people, like we couldn't fit more people in, especially with a new baby. So we just rented this Airbnb across the street, and like we got very lucky that there happened to be an Airbnb right there, and we just rented it out for like a month and a half. And we just had the parents stay there, which was awesome because it means they could get their rest at night. They weren't like hovering over us 24/7, which could be a lot. Like
I thought that was the coolest idea. When you did that, I'm like, man, that's so fun. Like that would be fun to do.
Yeah, it worked. So right away we had the family support. Since then we've had like my sister's flown out, Bree's sister's flown out, and we've had the rounds of our family come see the baby. But honestly, I think one of the biggest factors in us feeling that we have the support, we have a really good friend group here, including you and people who are parents and have gone through it. That's helped a lot. We have get a lot of really good advice, but we also spend time with people who are also parents. It's nice to be around because we don't feel alone.
Yeah,
it's
people going through the same stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
It's easy to, if you don't have your family around, and you already have a hard time, maybe making friends, or you don't have that many friends around. It's hard to not feel alone, like you're going through this. Another thing that we do is we joined a PEPS group.
Oh yeah,
which turns out to be one of the best things that have happened to us as new parents, because it's this standing weekly meeting with these new parents that are all in it. In a few months, their kids are a few months old as well, and they're all going through the same thing, and it's this vulnerable space where we can go around the room and share what we're going through, and know that you can kind of open up. So it's a space that we have developed a friendship now where we have this side text, and the fathers now have this group where they go out every few weeks with the kids to give the moms a break. Or we just said hey, has anybody used this type of formula? It's been really nice to have that, and they're all kind of very local to us. So between the friends, between PEPS, which credit to Bree, I've heard of PEPS, but she did all of the legwork there. Did the research, signed us up, and it's one of the best things that have happened to us. I don't know that I would have done that at all, right? Oh yeah, I know PEPS, but I don't need it.
I'm already going to therapy.
I'm already going to therapy. What more do you need? I just say Kevin up. So yeah, credit to Bree for signing us up, because it's turned out to be one of the best things. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard of people with PEPS groups that are literally friends for life, and their kids become friends for life too.
100%.
Especially because it's all in your area, right? Or
yeah, they're all right there. It's super hyper local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sean, you talked about still doing what you guys want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically ask a question about balancing, you as an individual, you as a husband and a dad. How do you balance it all? I think, did you talk about pickleball, or was that
no?
What was it?
I don't know. I've only
pool league.
Pool league.
Yeah. So how do you get to do a pool league?
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously doing those things for yourself is amazing for your mental health and just everything. But how do you balance that? I think that a lot of dads might have trouble with that, and how do you do it?
So I'll preface by saying that I definitely still have trouble with this too. We are figuring this out.
Yeah.
I'm figuring this out. I don't know that I have this answer that will be a solution for a new father trying to find their rhythm. Because for me, it's it's almost like we're finding new things each week and new ways to build a routine and service ourselves. And I say ourselves by Bree and I. So yeah, I play pool every Monday and I've been in the pool league for a while. And that is kind of my weekly outlet, right? Like I know you play basketball. I would love to join that as well. I just don't think I can right away. But
you just don't answer my text.
But yeah, so that's kind of my weekly outlet. But it's such low stakes that if we need to take a night off, I just don't go. It's nice to have that flexibility. But what's nice about that, and the way I'm able to do that, honestly, is just the encouragement from Bree. I think because she's always known how important it is for us to make sure that we get what we need to do for ourselves done.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a Monday that doesn't come where it's not like, go and have fun. And honestly, I think how you say you take the brunt of a lot of you trying to do too much. It's very similar. I think that I would probably feel too guilty and be like, I'll just skip this week. I'll just skip. You can't do that, right? So a lot of it's to fulfill my needs. And another thing I was doing is I could not find a time to like work out. And for me, it was very much like I need a routine to work out. Like I need to know what I'm doing the next few days, and then I could figure out like what that looks like. It took me forever to figure out like, oh, I'm just gonna go like at lunch at work, and I just joined a gym right underneath work. And this is pretty new. It's like a month old, and that's been my new workout routine. As it used to be running all over the place, now that's just what I do.
Yeah.
So I think those are two things that I've been able to do to balance, like how do I fulfill kind of like my personal ambition or hobbies, and then also not take away from home. But what I'm finding challenging is, and I think that this is now important for me, is like how do I also make sure that Bree is getting what she needs?
That was my follow-up question. I was actually just going to ask you that, because I think dads, when we get the go-ahead pass, often we're like usually pretty good about doing that. Maybe if it's golf or whatever, like of course we're pretty good about that. At least in my experience, I was going to ask you how you do that with Bree to make sure she gets that, because I know that for me, like I was 100% the one that was like, go do it. But she was not really doing it as much as she probably looks back on and wish she did. But it's so important to them. And I think that moms sometimes are just so hyper-focused and in the zone that oftentimes they don't take care of themselves. So I was going to ask you about how do you follow through with like making sure Bree is doing that well too?
I'm still learning, honestly. Like I think that something she said the other day like really kind of struck a chord with me. She was like, she's like, I feel like I'm not able to work out a lot. And it didn't have to do with like, me not encouraging her to go do that. And I know it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with she's trying to figure out her rhythm too. And like, how does she serve herself as well? Because she has to kind of work with Emery all day. So I think for me, what I've realized is it's a lot of the latter of what you just said. It's like, I could sit here all day and come home and be like, hey, I've got Emery the rest of the night. Don't worry about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that easy, because there's so much that's going on with moms that like, you also need to be in the right mind state. What if like she's like, I don't want to now, like like I've just dealt with a crying baby all day. I'm not in the mood, and I'm hungry, or like I've actually got errands to run, or I've already got like something else scheduled. It's not as easy as you just coming home and thinking like, oh, I'm gonna check the box and give Bree the night off. Like that's not how it works.
And then Bree's like, night off, okay,
night off,
I'm gonna
done,
do this.
I'm done. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So like, I think that it's a balance. What I'm learning, why I said like I don't have that answer of how like I can make sure that Bree is getting what she needs. I think as a mother, she's dealing with things differently than a father, right?
Yeah.
Like she just like, so it's one of those things where I'm like figuring out how do I continue to encourage like some of the like any like new creative moments that she may have and surface of like, oh, I think I want to go try this. Like, how can I be super encouraging to be like, I think that's a great idea. Like, go do it, or how can I help, or any of that. because I think that those plant small little seeds to like maybe get back into the rhythm of doing the things that she likes to do. So yeah, I'm as passionate about making sure that she's fulfilled with giving to herself as much as like she lets me kind of be like, yeah, go to pool. Yeah, that's great that you went to the gym, all of that. So yeah.
Awesome. One last one before we get into our quick advice from Sean. All right, so this question is about. I typically ask about your fathering approach, your approach to fatherhood, but I'm going to change it up this time. And my question to you is, what do you hope, like 20 years from now? And I think about this for myself too, and I don't even know what the answer is. But 20 years from now, if Emery was somewhere off at a dinner party or something, and someone said, "Tell me about your dad. What was your dad like?" What would you wish that she would say, or like how would you hope that she would answer that question?
This is a good one. I think a lot about before I answer it. I think a lot about how much it means to me that when Emery's older, she is super appreciative of like the environment, not of us. Like I want her to be like thankful, right? But like really of the environment that she was raised in. And one trap I don't want to get into is like, and I think about this too, is, well, what I do now, what impact does that have in 15 years or in 10 years? Like what I do, like if I'm always like constantly thinking about that, there's a way of like giving them a good environment to make sure that they're raised well, for sure. But there's also a sense of like, you can spin in circles of like trying to perfect everything so that way in 20 years they go to the best school or something like that, right? Like I think a lot about not worrying too much, because I know that we'll make sure she's happy and creative and all of this. Like I want that. So I think to answer your question, I just want her to be like proud to be like, this is my dad. Like, look at what he's done. Like, and look at what he's done for me. And look at my dad, like does this for my mom all the time. And my dad, like we used to do this every single week. Or like, I want her to have really memorable experiences growing up. That's kind of like, so I don't know about like explaining how her dad is, except for I want her to have really memorable kind of experience of any traditions or rituals we create, which is important to me. And it's important to Bree too. And I want her to have a positive experience of like me and Bree's relationship. That's important to me too. Like I want her to be able to kind of brag to her friends about what we all did.
My
as a
dad
family.
was so in love with my mom.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Stuff like that.
That's so cool. I love that. And this is a new question that I added to the podcast. And part of the reason why I added it was because I'm like such a person of saying it out loud and having accountability to that.
Yeah.
And I think that when you can get someone to say what they hope is going to happen in 20 years, like now you're at the point where you can start building that.
Yeah.
When you said we go to this place every Saturday, whatever, you could start tomorrow and start building that muscle. And so
for sure.
That was like a Rise and Dad little test right there.
I like
because I just wanted you to vocalize that.
Yeah.
Because then, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you'd be like, remember on the podcast I said that I wanted to do X, Y, and Z? Like it just lays the seeds for that.
Yeah.
And like I hope that you'll like remember what you wanted her to say, and then you're like doing it.
I think that's just like a very healthy thing to do. Like and I appreciate that. Like it's good to vocalize those things because I will remember. Like there's no doubt I'm gonna kind of walk away at some point from this and be like, that's what I'm gonna make sure of. Like that's now important, right? Like you think about these things and it's good to vocalize them.
Yeah, I do it with my wife a lot too, because it's like the simple fact of, if you said you're gonna do it, then the other person's gonna be like, hey, remember you said you're gonna do
Yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah, I can
Why are
appreciate
you
that.
not doing it anymore?
I can appreciate that.
And yeah, like I try to do it so much with my daughter, is like vocalizing and that accountability. Like the other week we were at the farmers market, and there was this like little kid singing on the thing, and she was like, "Dad, that's so cool. Like I want to do that one day." And I was like, "Well, let's set that a goal. Like bucket list. One day you will be performing here or at a farmer's market, and you'll do that."
That's great.
And I'm like, "Say you want to do that." She's like, "Yeah, I want to do that." It's like, "Okay, I'll remember it."
Yeah.
And like just vocalizing that and saying that makes her like now, like a year from now or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to hold her to it, but I could be like, "Remember you said you want to do that? Like, why
Yeah.
not?" And you know, it might be the inspiration for her at that point to be like, "You're right. I did say I want to do that, and now I can do it."
Yeah.
Or I'll try.
Yeah.
All right, this part is just some quick food for thought. Sean, what is the biggest challenge about being a dad?
Probably all of the available information. Between Instagram and TikTok and all of the articles, it's hard not to ignore all of the conflicting advice, especially as a new parent. And I think what's equally as hard in the same vein is, how do you not compare yourself to even your closest friends, who are parents as well? Like, they may be sharing their approach as a parent, and you can't help but to walk away and wonder, am I doing too much, or are we overthinking this? Or are we not doing enough because they have this routine, and should we be doing this? I think that's natural, but it's hard to ignore. I think that's a challenge. Like, you have to remember you doing what's right for you as parents. One piece of advice that I didn't love as a parent, as a new parent, which was, you have to do what you think is right. And I kind of want to be like, I don't know it. Like, I don't think anything yet, because this is brand new to us. Like, I don't know what could be right or could not be right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely seeking kind of some type of direction. But now that I'm in it, it's easy to give that advice, because it's like, we're just going to do what's right for us.
Yeah.
So I get where that advice was coming from, but I would say definitely that's the most challenging thing, is like, how do you block some of that noise out? How do you not judge too and be like, oh, they're doing that? Like, ooh, like, it's hard. Like, it's just a natural human instinct. And, I think
You have to be at
challenging.
a point where you like give zero fucks.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it works for us, right? Like we're doing co-sleeping. That there's a lot of varying opinions. Works for us, so I don't really care if
100%.
it doesn't work for you.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. The best and worst thing about being a dad.
Best is, on top of like just like the giggling and the engaging, I would say like there's this like cool feeling of like like you're a part of a club now, right? Like you're in the dad club. And I think that there's like, you didn't realize how much parents went through what they went through. Like, you kind of hear about it until you go through it. And it's like this, you're kind of impressed, right? It's this unspoken thing. It's like, oh damn, you had a job and did all of this as a parent, right? Like, oh, I'm doing that now, and it's hard work. Like,
Yeah.
props to you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of cool. You're in this like parent club now.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Like I actually, like I have this idea about this parent club, and I like, in my head, I'm like, man, you're a cool dad. Like, I'm like, Kev, you're cool, man. And I feel like I'm part of this like club, right?
Yeah. That's a kind of this weird, quirky, cool thing.
Yeah. Worst part?
Worst part, I would say probably like, it's happening way less frequently, but like, getting frustrated when the baby's being like super fussy. It's hard, because like, I think that the worst part is like the regret afterwards. Like like I said, it's happening less and less frequent, but each time it's like the feeling gets worse, right? You're like, I'm not going to get frustrated again. Like I don't want to get frustrated again. And it's such a selfish feeling, because like, you're in this moment and you're getting frustrated because your needs aren't being met. Your needs are, I want a cooperative baby. Well, that's like not how it works. So like there's definitely kind of this, the worst part is that feeling of regret after, like, why am I getting frustrated, man? Like this is a little baby figuring out how to be human. They don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like they need us. So again, like I'm definitely proud of like learning way more patience and figuring this out. But there are still moments naturally, and you can't help but to think like, damn, like that's tough. It's a lot of like,
the regret is huge for me, because like, you do get frustrated, and then you might be like, whatever, or something, and like literally a second later you're like, man, why did I do that?
Totally.
Why did I say that? It's
Totally.
like, but we're human too, obviously.
For sure.
And it's like such a big challenge, I know, for me, where I'll say something to my wife like, you do it, or something. It's like, well, no reason to get mad over that.
Yeah.
All right, so last one is one piece of advice for a dad in your same stage. We might have to caveat this with, maybe you don't know what you're doing. Like, but
No, I think
give us a line of advice.
Yeah, I think it's actually similar to the advice that you gave me, honestly. And I'll add the component of which was and is like, you have to figure out how to like fit in as a father, right? Because you realize you may not be needed. But I'll add, like, you have to, I think, figure out how to completely let down every little bit of guard that you have and help your partner, your wife. Like, what really helped us was, like, I was at like the service of Brie the moment Emery was born. It was like, what do you need? When do you need it? And how can I like drop everything and do it? And because that's like how you can be a father in that moment, not just to Emery, but also to Brie. Like, your partner needs that. So I think the advice is, it's more than just kind of like running the errands around the house. It's literally being vulnerably fully available, and completely supporting your partner, because it's a lot, So,
That's great, man. That's great. That takes us to the end of the podcast, Sean. So excited that you joined us. As a final word, I usually tell dads on the podcast, because often they say, we're wondering if we're being good enough, or should we be doing this? And what I always tell my dads on the podcast is that by simply thinking that and wondering that, you're doing a good job. Like, that is the good job, is worrying about if you're doing enough, worrying about how you can become better. Like, those are the signs that you're already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That you're already doing good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're reading the books, if you're listening to the podcast or whatever, you're already winning. So I'm giving you that as a compliment, because a lot of people are always like, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but that self-reflection is like what's needed to be great. And so you're already on the way to being great, and you already are.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. And what you're doing is super helpful. Like, I think the advice that fathers need is kind of exactly what like this is offering. So this has been awesome.
Cool, man. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it. All right, that's it for the Rise and Dad podcast with Sean. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, man.
What's up, guys? It's Kevin from the Rise and Dad podcast. Thanks so much for watching this episode. We hope that you like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, rate, do all the great things that'll help us keep making content for you. Thanks a lot.